Welcome to Conversations with Terry McBride. The name of this video is the Freedom of Choice. I invite you again to get underneath the words and concepts I use and just explore and notice if there's something that you think you might be able to use to improve the quality of your life. The second video we did was Who Do You Think You Are? Followed up with Consciousness Creates Reality. We sort of left those two videos with the possibility that you could choose to begin to experience yourself as this unique expression of the divine spirit. That you could start from there. Certainly you have a history, you have a past, and you have labels, and you have a story. But the idea was to start from you're not your current story, which allows you then to write a new story. The third video, Consciousness Creates Reality, talked about the split in this idea that consciousness creates reality. That some people address that with the idea that you really can't change what's going on, you can just change your opinion about what's going on. That's what they did when I was sick. Remember, the whole backdrop for me exploring these ideas was this infection I had in my spine, which they said was not curable. And so some encouraged me that, come work with me and I can assist you to face these limitations with dignity. And yet there were other teachers that said, no, if you take charge of your creative mind, you can create health. I mean, that's how I looked at it. And we left that video with, so let's move down this path that all things are possible if only we believe. Now, just imagine that you've watched those videos over and over, because when you watch them over and over, it allows your mind to analyze this information. Just imagine that you've watched those and you really do experience yourself as this unique expression of spirit. And part of you knows that you have the ability to create what you want. That there's a power in the universe backing you up, backing up your beliefs. So that the next piece is that idea of your freedom to choose. Imagine what that would be like if you coupled all of those together, that you could feel this unique expression that you are. You could feel that you have the power and the authority to create the reality that you want. And imagine that you're getting clearer and clearer about the things that you want in your life. That's what awaits you. That's what these videos explore. This idea of you, your magnificence, your power. When I was going through my health challenges, what I found was that in the beginning everybody said, go for it. What you want is legitimate. I want to be well. But after I had the 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th or 12th or 13th or 14th surgery, they started to change their mind. And they encouraged me to begin to, perhaps not face reality, but it was very much like that. I call it the perhaps models. So some of the same people who in the beginning said, you can do it, you can go, you can create what you want. When I failed enough times, and it seemed that was the key. The key was, how many times did I try and fail? And when the failures added up to some magical number, in came what I called the perhaps models. Perhaps God has a bigger plan for you than you just getting what you want. Perhaps the healing you're looking for may not include the healing of your body. Perhaps you shouldn't be so specific in what you pray for. Perhaps if it was too easy, you wouldn't appreciate it. On and on they went. Now, in my book, on page 180, it says, in theory, these perhaps models were not meant to be limiting. They were supposed to offer support. It wasn't that the ones who brought these ideas to me were negative. They had studied and found them useful for themselves. The problem I had with these models was that within most of these ideas, there remained the real possibility that I would not get the health I wanted. In fact, in most of the perhaps models, there was a distinct probability that I would not get the health that I wanted. See, one of the challenges in this idea of taking charge of your creative mind is the idea, do you get to use these tools, the tools of choice? Do you get to use them to create what you want, or is there some magical list? That was one of the big challenges for me. Again, I talk about it in the book because as one is really exploring these ideas of taking charge of their creative mind, what I ran into was this idea of, do I have the right to choose openly and freely what I'm going after? On page 221, and it says, in order for choice to be an inspiring process where I could get excited about the outcome, I had to have total freedom to choose what I wanted to create. One of the huge stumbling blocks for me in the area of choice was that there was always a list of the proper choices. And too many times these correct choices did not relate directly to my heart's desire. So the motivation to accomplish those right choices wasn't there for me because I wasn't going after what I really wanted. It was the old model again, where I was supposed to give up my needs, my aspirations, in search for my divinity. But if I could completely accept that the idea that the universe only says yes, that would allow me to begin to believe that my priorities were legitimate. That my life could be a joyous adventure where I could make my dreams come true. And I figured if I owned this, that might give me the motivation I needed to stay on track and use the principles of choice, even if I run into obstacles, roadblocks, and problems. See, that's the key. Moving into understanding that you have the power to take charge of your creative mind is certainly the beginning. And the next question is, do you have the right to go after what you want? It seemed so simplistic. It seemed so self-centered for me to be starting with the idea that I get to have what I want. But if I did not have that kind of belief, that kind of assurance that what I was going after was okay, I knew I would spend needless time and energy wrestling with whether or not that's what I should really want. You have to get underneath your own beliefs to find out what is it that you want. Because there will be aspects of you, my bet is, that label some of your desires as in such a way that you shouldn't be going after them. I talk about that in the previous videos with the psychiatrist when I went in and he read letters and said, look, here's a reality that you can expect for yourself. And I said, but I don't want to believe like you. And I said, we argued and we fought. It was a long discussion. I was in there for 35 or 40 minutes. And at one point I remember saying, but I don't want to go to the bathroom in a plastic bag. I don't want to live in a body that doesn't work. And he looked at me and he said, Terry, that's your ego talking. You're the son of a dead war hero. You think if you can't stand on your own two legs, you won't be a whole man. And I said, yes. And he said, Terry, that's your ego. When you take a look at what you're going after, what you're going to have to get in touch with is some of these ideas that you've been taught. That you can't go after what you want. It's got to be for the good of everybody. You can't use this for this reason or that reason, and you can't go get your ego-centered desires. It's challenging. But I invite you, just as you explore these other ideas, explore this idea, this concept of that you are absolutely free. Free. Free to use these concepts, these disciplines, these ancient traditions to create what you want for your life. And as I've said before, it may not be to make your life a joyous adventure. When you're at the bottom of the ladder, I just started using these principles so I wouldn't cry myself to sleep every night. Although there were people who said, oh, crying is good for you because what it does. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to do it anymore. You have to give yourself permission to be you. You have to give yourself permission to trust in your own self. Start where you are. Begin to explore these ideas. Get a sheet of paper. Remember, we're only talking 10 or 15 minutes a day. Get a sheet of paper and start writing out. If you had a magic wand, what would you want your life to be? And then notice what your mind does as you're writing these things out. Notice whether it goes, yes, that's what we're going to go for, or whether it says, yeah, but. And if you, as you're doing this, if you notice that you have a lot of beliefs in limitation, or a lot of beliefs in lack, or beliefs in struggle and disease, don't stop there. Remember, I did not believe I could get healthy when I started. I just decided I'm going to begin to use these principles on a daily basis, and I'm going to begin moving toward what I want instead of constantly struggling and efforting with what I don't want. And in that process of not just studying, but applying these principles, what I found was I could make my dreams come true. Get a sheet of paper. Just imagine if you had a magic wand, if you really were that spiritual being that's free, if you really did have the power to take charge of your creative mind and start to move towards the life that you want, where would you start? What would your dreams be? Just write them out. Just write them out, and I encourage you to begin to look to the good. Look to your dreams. And remember, you are powerful beyond measure, even if you don't know that yet. Remember, you are magnificent beyond your wildest dreams, even if you don't know that yet. Remember, what awaits you is you are the creator of your life. You're the writer, you're the director, and you get to be the star of your own movie. I send you love. I send you joy. And I send you power.